Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear participants. Welcome to this session of textual study of the Quran. We'll be starting off with the literal and idiomatic translation from verses 91 onwards of Surah al-Nisa. Although we had done some of these verses, but I'll start again so that the connection remains intact and we are able to smoothly navigate through these verses. Satajiduna akhirina yuriduna an ya'manukum wa ya'manu qawmahum. Sa is normally used in Arabic to actually denote something which is going to happen soon. So satajiduna would mean soon you will find. Soon you will find akhirin, others, yuriduna, who want an, that, ya'manukum, you make peace with them, or who want to make peace with you actually. You'll find other people who would like to make peace with you. Wa ya'manu qawmahum. Wa and ya'manu, make peace, qawmahum, with their own qawm, with their own nation. So idiomatically it would mean soon you'll find others, akhirin, others, who would like to make peace with you and also make peace with their own nation. Kullama, whenever, ruddu, they are turned, ila, towards, al-fitna, trial. So whenever they are turned towards a trial, urkisu, fiha, they plunge, they are caught, fiha, in it. Fa, therefore, in, if, lam, not, ya'tazilukum, they do not dissociate from you. Wa, and, yulqu, ilaykum as-salama, this is like a single expression, and do not make peace or do not offer peace with you, and also not offer peace to you. Wa, and, yakuffu, yakuffu means abstained. Aydiyahum, their hands. So what is said here is that whenever they are called towards any trial, they actually are caught up in it. And therefore, if they do not abstain or keep their distance from you, illam ya'tazilukum, if they do not maintain a distance from you, وَيُلْقُوا إِلَيْكُمُ السَّلَامَ, and also, so lam, the word lam, which is a negation, is also working on the next expression. So it's like saying, فَإِلَّمْ يَعْتَزِلُكُمْ وَلَمْ يُلْقُوا. So if they do not dissociate themselves from you and also do not offer you peace, يُلْقُوا إِلَيْكُمُ السَّلَامَ, offer you peace. Wa, and yakuffu aydiyahum, and also they do not hold back their hands, which means that they start to attack you. Fa, therefore, khuzuhum, get hold of them. Wa, and, uqtuluhum, and kill them. Haythu, wherever, saqiftumuhum, you find them. So if they do not withhold their hands, you get hold of them and kill them wherever you find them. Wa, and, ulaikum, they. Wa ulaikum, these are the people, or they. Ja'alna, we have made, lakum, for you, alayhim, on them, sultana, an authority, mubina, clear. So these are the people against whom we have given you a clear authority. In other words, what is being said is that these are the people who would like that they make peace with you and they make peace with their own nation. But when they are plunged into some trial, they are caught into it, and therefore, if they do not desist from you and do not offer you peace and also not withhold their hands from you, then you get hold of them and kill them wherever you find them. And it is these people against which we have given you a clear authority, which means that we have given you a clear permission that you can attack them and then put them to your sword. Wa, and, ma kana li mu'minin. So now, as the directive of fighting in jihad has just been given, there could be a chance that because Muslims were fighting other hypocrites who were living in far off lands or around Medina, and they were living amongst Muslims also. So therefore, there was a chance that if there is a fight and there is a war, then a Muslim soldier might end up killing another Muslim, and that is, of course, out of any not intentionally, but unintentionally. So now you can see that the directives of unintentional murder are being enumerated. Wa, and, ma, not, kana is limu'minin, appropriate for a mu'min, appropriate for a Muslim. So it is, and it is not appropriate for a Muslim, for a mu'min, that, yaqtula, to kill, mu'minan, mu'min, another believer. So it is not appropriate for a believer to kill another believer. I mean, it is absolutely, in fact, if we use a proper idiomatic translation, it would be it is totally forbidden. It is extremely unlawful. So otherwise, normally the word wama kana li mu'minin has various connotations, but in the context, what it means is that it is absolutely inappropriate that a believer kill another believer illa except khata, by mistake. The only situation that is possible of killing another believer is by mistake. Wa, and man, he, katala, killed, mu'minan, a believer, khata'an, out of an accident or because of lack of intention, unintentional. Fatahriru, so therefore setting free, raqabatin, neck, mu'minatin, a Muslim neck. So raqabatin of course refers to the fact that a slave has to be freed, a Muslim slave has to be freed. Wa, and diyatun, and the diyat, of course, which is a penalty, musallamatun, handed over, ila, towards ahlihi, his family. So what would be done is that if a Muslim is killed unintentionally, as it says khata'an, then a Muslim slave must be set free as penance, as an atonement. Wadiyatun musallamatun ila ahlihi, and diyat must be paid to his family. I've already explained this, that diyat actually refers to a monetary fine. Illa, except, an, that, yasaddaku, the family of the deceased forgives him. So, if that is the case, then of course diyat would not be given. Fa, if, in, fa is therefore, in is if, kana is min, from, qawmin, a nation, aduvvin lakum, aduvvin, enemy, lakum, to you. But if the person who is killed belongs to an enemy nation, belongs to an enemy, fa, if, fa, therefore, in, if, kana is min, from, kaumin, nation, aduvvin, who is an enemy, lakum, to you. But if the killed person belongs to an enemy nation, wahuwa mu'minun, but he himself is a mu'min, he himself is a believer, then fatahriru, fa, therefore, tahrir, set free, rakabatin mu'mina, you just need to set free a slave. So in other words, if he belongs to a friendly nation, that would be a different case. But if he belongs to a nation with whom you have enmity, animosity, and the person who is killed is also a believer, then the only thing required is to set free a Muslim slave. Wa, and, in, if, kana is min qawmin, from a nation, bainakum, between you, wa, and, bainahum, between them, misaq, a covenant, an agreement. And if he belongs to a nation with which you and they have a misaq, you and they have a covenant, a treaty, then therefore diyatun, diyat, musallamatun, be paid, ila, towards ahlihi, his family, wa, and tahriru, setting free, rakabatin mu'mina, a Muslim slave. So now it is said that if the person he belongs to someone between whom you have a treaty, then you have to pay diyat to his family and also set free a Muslim slave. Fa, therefore, man, he, lam, not, yajid, finds, and he, a person who does not finds these slaves, fasayam, therefore, the fasting, shahrain, 2 months, mutatabi'ain, consecutive. So this is the literal translation. Otherwise, idiomatically, it would mean that if you don't find a slave, and if he does not find a slave, which means the person who killed does not have a slave, he does not find a slave, فَصَيَامُ شَهْرَيْنِ مُتَتَابِعَيْنِ, then he must fast for 2 consecutive months. Shahrain, 2. Mutatabi'ain, consecutive. Tawbatam min Allah. This is from God, a tawbah. This is from God, a penance, repentance. Min Allah, from Allah, God. So this is from God, a tawbah. In other words, what is meant here is that this is the right way through which repentance has to be done. وَكَانَ اللَّهُ عَلِيمًا حَكِيمًا. Wa, and Kana is Allah, God. Alima, knowledgeable. Hakima, wise. And God is knowledgeable and wise. Wa and man, he, yaqtula, kills, mu'minan, a believer, muta'ammidan. Muta'ammidan means deliberately, intentionally. So prior to these, to what we're just studying, we found that basically the penance and the punishment of killing someone unintentionally is being discussed. But now this verse discusses the penance, it discusses the punishment basically of a deliberate murder, of an intentional murder. So it is said, وَمَنْ يَقْتُلَ مُؤْمِنًا مُتَعَمِّدًا, and man he yaqtula, killed, mu'minan, a believer, muta'ammidan, deliberately. Fa, therefore, jaza'uhu, his reward, Jahannam, is hell. Khalidan, forever. Fiha, in it. And he will remain in it forever. In other words, the crime of intentionally killing a believer, it carries a punishment of eternal hell. Wa, and ghadiballahu, and God's ghazab and God's anger, alayhi, on him. So not only will he face eternal and condemned to eternal hell, he'll also face the wrath of God. The wrath of God will be on him. Wa, and la'anahu, his curse also. So you can see how grave this crime is, that eternal hell is something that person will face. Also, the anger and the curse of God will be on him. Wa, and a'adda, he has prepared, lahu, for him, azaban, a torment, azima, great. And he has prepared for him a torment great, which means God has prepared for such a person a great torment. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu iza zarabtum fi sabilillahi fatabayyanu. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu, O you who believe, iza, when, zarabtum fi sabilillah. This is like a single idiom, which means that when you go out for the cause of God, which means in this context to wage war, fatabayyanu, fa, therefore, tabayyanu, investigate, find out. Wa, and la, not. Taqulu, you say, liman, about him, alka ilaykum salama, who says peace to you, who says salam to you, lasta mu'mina, lasta, not, mu'mina, mu'min, lasta means you are not, mu'mina, believer. So in other words, what is being said is that believers, when you wage war for the cause of God, fully investigate who is in front of you. And if someone says assalamu alaikum to you, do not reply lasta mu'mina, that you are not a Muslim, you're not a believer. Tabtaghuna, you want, aradal hayatid dunya, the provisions, arada, provisions, al hayatid dunya, the life of this world, and you want the provisions of the life of this world. In other words, the context shows that if because of the greed of the spoils of war, Muslims or believers, they wage war, and when they find someone who says salam to them, they, instead of sparing that person, they go on to kill him, then this is something which is not warranted, because now their purpose is to gather the spoils of war. That is why it is said, tabtaghuna aradal hayatid dunya, you want the provisions of this life. Fa indallah, fa, but, in the, with, Allah, God, but with God, maghanimu. So maghanim, of course, being the spoils, kathira, lot, but with God there are a lot of spoils, which in other words means that you are after the spoils of this war, and for that you're even going as far as to kill someone who says salam to you. This is not a correct attitude, because you know that as far as these spoils are concerned, as far as these treasures are concerned, they are in a large quantity with God. Fa indallahi maghanimu kasira. So with God are kathir, in abundance. These maghanim, these spoils are in abundance with God. Kazalika, in this way, kuntum, you were, min qabl, before this. So you were like this earlier. What is meant here is that you were like this earlier, which means that before this situation, you of course did not have the guidance and you were in no position to wage war. But famannallahu alaykum, fa, therefore, manna, show favor, Allah, God, but God showed favor to you, alaykum, upon you, and God showed favor upon you. Fatabayyanu, therefore, fully find out, fully investigate. Inna, indeed, Allah, God, kana is, bima ta'maluna, bima ta'maluna would mean aware, khabira, or bima ta'maluna would mean what you do, khabira is aware. So inna, indeed, Allah, God, kana is, bima, what you, ta'malun, do, khabira, aware. So indeed, God is aware of what you do. لا يستوي القاعدون من المؤمنين غير أولي الضرر والمجاهدون في سبيل الله بأموالهم وأنفسهم. لا, not. يستوي, equal. القاعدون, who stay behind, who sit. The word qaida actually means to sit, and here the connotation is that they stay at home and do not go and wage war. من المؤمنين, from among the believers. So those who stay back from among the believers, لا يستوي, they are not equal. غير أولي الضرر. So غير أولي الضرر would mean without any handicap. غير, without, أولي الضرر, handicap. So in other words, what is being said is that those among the believers who sit behind in their homes such that they are not handicapped in any way, they do not have any disability, so they are not equal. With whom? Now the next clause tells us with whom. Wa, and, al-mujahidun, the fighters, those who wage war, fi, in, sabil, way, Allah, God, the mujahidun who wage war for the cause of God, be, with, amwalihim, their wealth, wa, and, anfusihim, their persons. So what is being said here is that those who sit behind without any disability being their case, they are not equal to those who fight for the cause of God with their wealth and with their persons. Faddal Allah, faddala, made superior. Allah, God, al-mujahideen, the fighters, bi amwalihim, with their wealth, wa, and, anfusihim, and with their selves. So God has blessed the mujahideen, God has blessed the fighters with their wealth and with their persons, and who He has blessed with, or upon whom this blessing has been given, or upon whom this superiority is, al qaidina, Allah, upon, al qaidina, those who sat behind in their homes, daraja, by 1 degree. So in other words, what is being said is that God has given 1 degree of superiority to the mujahideen who fought with their wealth and with their children, with their persons, upon those who sat behind. So this is something which God has given. Wa, and, kullan, everyone. Wa'adallah, God's promise. Al-husna, good. With everyone, God's promise is good. Wa kullan wa'adallahu al-husna. Wa, and, faddalallah, God has bestowed His blessing, al-mujahideen, upon the mujahideen, upon the fighters, upon the soldiers, ala, upon, al-qaideen, those who sit behind, who stay at their homes, ajran azima, with a great reward. So the faddalallahu al-mujahideen al-qaideen daraja, and so it is said that the reward of those mujahideen upon those who sit behind is far greater, is much greater. Ajran azima, it is very high. Darajatin minhu wa maghfiratan wa rahma. Darajat, high ranks. Minhu, from God. Wa, and, maghfira, forgiveness. Wa, and, rahma, mercy. So they will have ranks, high ranks, and mercy and forgiveness from God. Wa, and, kana Allah. Kana is Allah, God. Ghafoor. Ghafoor means forgiving. Rahima, merciful. And God is forgiving and merciful. Inna allazina tawaffahumul malaikatu zalimi anfusihim. Inna, indeed, allazina, those who, tawaffahum, are given death, al malaika, by the angels, zalimi anfusihim, in a situation that they have been unjust to their own selves. Zalimi, unjust, anfusihim, to their own selves. In other words, those whom the angels give death, such that these persons to whom death has been given have been unjust to their own selves. Qalu, they say, Fima, where? Kuntum, you. So where were you? So in other words, people who are given death by the angels in such circumstances that they were being unjust to their own souls. So these angels will ask them, Kalu, they will ask them, Fima, where? Kuntum, where were you? Kalu, they will reply, Kunna, we were mustaz'afin, helpless. We were helpless. Fi in al-ard, in the land. So qalu kunna mustad'afina fil ard would mean they said that we were helpless in the land. Kunna mustad'afina fil ard, we were helpless in the land. Qalu, the angels will then remark, alam takun, was not ardullah, God's earth, was not God's earth wasi'a, vast, fatuhajiru fiha, so that you could have migrated in it. So we have already discussed this, that people who will be persecuted and they did not leave their place in spite of the fact that they could have left their place. This question would be posed by the angels to them when they would be claiming their souls, that why did you not migrate in the earth of God, in the land of God, because it was vast and spacious? What was the reason that you did not go there? Now the answer is not even heard from them, and the Quran delivers its own verdict. It says, Fa, therefore, ulaika, for their ma'wahum, their ma'wa means their abode actually, and hum means there. So their abode is Jahannam, is hell. So people who do not migrate, such that they are being persecuted, and still they do have a place to migrate. If they don't migrate, then the Quran says that this is a grave sin. So فَأُولَٰئِكَ مَأْوَاهُمْ جَهَنَّمْ, for them hell is the abode. Wa, and sa'at, very evil. Masira, a place to live, a place to return. And that is a very evil place to return, which means that's a very evil place to live. Illa, except al-mustaz'afin, the helpless, min ar-rijal, from among men, wan nisa, and from among women, wal wildan, and from among children. So now an exception is being sounded here, that people who were able to go and migrate, and they still did not migrate, for them the punishment of hell would be there. But those who were helpless from among men, women, and children, la, not yastati'un, they had the position or the power, hilatan, to make a strategy, wa, and la, not yahtaduna. Yahtaduna means have a place, sabila, to go or to escape. So that would mean, except people who were among men, women, and children, and they were helpless and they could not devise a plan and they were not able to move out, then they are an exception to this. So in other words, what was stated earlier was that people who were in a position to migrate when they were facing persecution and they did not migrate, they would face eternal hell. But those who were persecuted and they could not devise a plan, they were not in a position to migrate, then for them this threat or this warning no longer is theirs. So they should not think that they are the addressees of this threat as well. Fa, and that is precisely what is stated in the next verse. Fa, therefore, ulaika, they, asallahu. Asa is the same as sa. We have discussed this earlier, that asa and sa, whenever they come in Arabic, they mean, actually refer to the fact that soon this will happen. Fa ulaika, they, asallahu, very soon God, an, that, ya'fuwa, forgive, anhum, from them. It is expected that for such people God will pardon them. فَأُولَٰئِكَ عَسَى اللَّهُ أَن يَعْفُوَ عَنْهُمْ. They, عَسَى اللَّهُ, very soon, أَن يَعْفُوَ, would be pardoned, anhum, from them. I mean, this is like afa'an is a single expression with this proposition being collocated. وَكَانَ اللَّهُ عَفُوًّا غَفُورًا. Wa, and kana is Allah, God. Afuwan. Afuwan means forgiving. Ghafura, merciful. And God is forgiving and merciful. Wa, and man, he, yuhajir, migrates, fi, in, sabil, way, Allah, God. And he who migrates in the cause of God, in the way of God, yajid, will find, fi, in, al-ard, land, Muragaman kasira. So muragaman kasira would mean a lot of places. He will find a lot of refuge. Wasa'a, and spaciousness and possibilities. So, in other words, it is being said that those who migrate for the cause of God, they will find the earth to be very vast, and there would be a lot of possibilities for them. So, they should not, in fact, get scared and withhold themselves. Wa, and man he yakhruj, comes out, mim baytihi, from his house, and he who comes out of his house, muhajiran, migrating, ilallah, towards God, wa rasulihi, and towards his messenger. So he who comes out of his house migrating towards God and his messenger, thumma, then, yudrikhu, comes to him, al maut, death. Yudrikhu, comes to him, al maut, death. And then death comes to him. Faqad, therefore, waqa'a. Waqa'a would mean has become mandatory. Ajruhu, his reward, Allah, upon God. So, in other words, if you leave your home because of this persecution, going towards God and His Messenger, and then death overtakes you, فَقَدْ وَقَعَ أَجْرُهُ عَلَى اللَّهِ, then such a person will be definitely rewarded by God. In other words, it is incumbent upon God to reward him. وَقَعَ أَجْرُهُ, then it is incumbent عَلَى اللَّهِ, upon God. وَكَانَ اللَّهُ غَفُورًا رَحِيمًا. Wa, and Kana is Allah, God, Ghafur, forgiving, Rahima, merciful. And God is forgiving and merciful. Wa, and Iza, when, Darabtum, you strike or you travel, fil ard, in the land. And when you travel in the land, fa, therefore, laysa, not, alaykum, upon you, junahun, any sin, an, if, taksuru, you reduce, minas salah, your prayer. So when you travel in the land, of course, this is referring to traveling for the purpose of jihad because of the context. وَإِذَا زَرَبْتُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ, when you travel in the land for jihad, it is no sin upon you if you reduce your prayer. لَيْسَ عَلَيْكُمْ جُنَاحٌ, it's not no sin upon you that you reduce your prayer. In, if, khiftum, you fear, an, that, yaftinakum, will put you through trial, allazina, those who, kafaru, who have disbelieved. So if you fear that those who have disbelieved, they might put you into some trial, which means that they might inflict some hardship on you, it is not in any way, and you should not fear that this is something that you have done wrongly. If you fear that this is going to happen, then you can certainly shorten your prayer. Inna, indeed, al-kafirina. Al-kafirina would mean the disbelievers. Kanu, were. Lakum, towards you. Aduvvan, aduvvan means enemies. Mubina, clear. Indeed, the disbelievers, or in fact, if we give due consideration to the article alif lam appended to kafirin, it would mean indeed these disbelievers, kanu lakum, are for you, aduvvam mubina, clear enemies. So these disbelievers are your clear enemies, what is implied here. So with this we come to, and in fact we have a couple of more verses left. So وَإِذَا كُنْتَ فِيهِمْ وَأَقَمْتَ فَأَقَمْتَ لَهُمُ الصَّلَاةَ فَلْتَقُمْ طَائِفَةٌ مِّنْهُمْ مَعَكَ وَلْيَأْخُذُوا أَسْلِحَتَهُم. Wa, and, Iza, when, Kunta, you are, Fihim, among them, Fa'aqamta, and you stand, Lahum, for them, As-Salah, the prayer, Faltakum, should stand, Ta'ifa, a group, Minhum, from them, Ma'aka, with you. So when you stand for prayer among them, then a group of people should stand with you. Wa, and, al-ya'khuzu aslihatakum, they should actually hold on to their asliha, to their weapons. They should hold on to their weapons, which this means that if the time of the prayer arrives and the Prophet is among them, then obviously everyone would wish that he would pray behind the Prophet. So the methodology is being suggested here is that you should get hold of your weapons, don't lay them down. Fa, and, iza sajadu, when it prostrates, fal yakunu, it should go, min waraikum, behind you, wal ta'ti, and should come, ta'ifatun ukhra, the other group, lam yusallu, who did not pray, fal yusallu, therefore they should pray, ma'ak, with you, wa, and wal ya'khuzu, they should get hold of, hizrahum, their weapons, wa aslihatahum, and their ammunition. So in other words, one rakat each would be prayed, and then the other rakat would be completed by the taifa, by the group. Wadda allazina kafaru. Wadda intends. Allazina, those who kafaru, disbelieved. So those who disbelieved, they want law taghfuluna. If you are oblivious, if you are not paying attention, if you are in some sort of ghafla, an aslihatikum, from your asliha, from your weapons. So those who have disbelieved, they want that if in some instance, at some instance, you are not fully attentive to your weapons, wa amtiyatikum, and your gear, فَيَمِيلُونَ عَلَيْكُمْ مَيْلَةً وَاحِدًا, فَيَمِيلُونَ عَلَيْكُمْ, they will attack, alaykum, you, مَيْلَةً وَاحِدًا, in a single way, in a single strike. They will really cut short of you, or they'll try to cut short of you. Wa, and la junaha alaykum, la, not, junaha, sin, alaykum, upon you, in, if, kana bikum, is upon you, azam min matarin. So azam min matarin would mean the rain has caused any problem to you. So if heavy rain has caused any problem on you and stricken you, min matarin, of course, refers to the fact that from among the rain, anything which is from rain, it causes you some heavy loss. Aw, if kuntum, you are marda, are sick, an, that, tadau, you put down, aslihatakum, your asliha, your weapons. So in other words, what is being said is that there is no offense upon you if you put aside your weapons, if you are afflicted whenever there is heavy rain, or if the people or the soldiers are inflicted with some illness. Wa, and khuzu, take hold of, hizrakum, the things that can protect you. So your protective gear, like your shields or your armor, you should not put them down. Yes, you can put down your weapons, but do not put down your protective gear. Inna, indeed, Allah, God, a'adda, has prepared, lil kafirina, for these disbelievers, azaba, torment, muhina, humiliating or disparaging. Indeed, God has prepared for these disbelievers a disparaging punishment. So with this, we come to an end to the idiomatic and literal translation. And if you have any questions regarding this literal and idiomatic translations, please raise them now.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. Our first question comes from Shaban Ansari. Please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum.
Please go ahead. Ji, walaikum assalam.
अच्छा, ये सवाल मेरा ये था कि वो जो कत्ले अमद की सजा है ना 2 महीने के लगातार रोजे, तो उनकी क्या मतलब वो किस तरह रखे जाएंगे? लगातार रखे जाने के होते हैं कि बीच में
Yes.
गैप भी आता है, किस तरह
No,
का?
no. The Quran has made it a point that they have to be mutatabi'ain, which means they have to be consecutive, one after the other. If you leave one, then you'll have to start all over again.
अच्छा, ये तो काफी सख्त सजा है कि मतलब बीच में एक भी छूट
I
गया
mean,
तो फिर
the
दोबारा।
offense is also
ये
very
सजा है।
grave. You are killing
जी,
a
जी,
believer.
जी,
The
डेफिनेटली।
punishment is in proportion to the offense.
अच्छा, और वो जो हिजरत के लिए जो एक तो मुस्तज़फ़ीन और ख़वातीन हैं जो नहीं कर सक रही हिजरत, लेकिन जो जिनको सज़ा की बात की जा रही है कि उनको आखिरत में सज़ा मिलेगी, तो वो क्या अपने बिज़नेस और रिश्तेदारों की वजह से हिजरत नहीं कर रहे हैं? क्या बात है वो?
Number of reasons. Yes, because of a connection with their old brethren, their ties with their old brethren, or because of the fact that they do not want to leave their possessions. Because you see, you get attached to your houses and your possessions, and you don't like to leave them. But a more grave reason was that their ties with their people who were living there were very strong, and they did not want to, in any way, sever those ties.
थैंक यू, शुक्रिया।
Thank you very much. Ammar Rasul, please go ahead.
Dr. Saab, I have two questions. One is, why does God in these verses specify punishments regarding killing other Muslims? Why is there a particular reason for that? Like why there is eternal hell and damnation for killing a Muslim deliberately? What about killing a non-Muslim deliberately? And my second question is, sir, specifically about this verse which says that if you are being persecuted and you do not leave that area, then when you die, you are going to be given hell. My question to you is that, is this pertaining to a particular nation in that time or in the past, or does it apply to present day as well? For example, would it apply to uh, people of Iraq when they were being bombed, or of Syria, or of Palestine?
So let me answer your second question first. So you see, this directive of migration in the case of persecution means that you're not being able to practice your religion freely. If that is the case, and you also have the means and resources to migrate to a safer place which welcomes you and you can stay there and practice your religion fully. This threat and warning actually relates to such people who, in spite of having a place to go where they are welcomed, they choose to live in the same land and they say, okay, we will practice religion in a compromise situation. Because remember, when a person is being persecuted, what does happen? He would not fully practice religion openly, and so many parts of religion would be left unpracticed. So the Quran wants us to fully follow the religion as much as we are able to, and the only concession is when we are not able to migrate to a land. So when there is a place available for you to go, the place also welcomes you, or if it does not welcome you, at least it is vacant and you can go and occupy it. So the Quran wants us to go there so that we can practice our religion freely over there. But in our countries today, of course, it's a different scenario. There is no, I mean, there are a lot of international laws now. We have international boundaries. There were no such international boundaries in those times. Wherever a person would go, normally he would occupy that land and he would, or she would become the owner of that land. But this no longer is the case. So today, by analogy, wherever Muslims are persecuted, wherever, if they also have a place to go and they have the means to go there, like for example, some country welcomes them that, okay, we will give you asylum, you can come to us, and still they don't go, and they choose to live as a persecuted community, it is then that this threat or warning would apply to them. Otherwise, of course, if they have some legitimate excuse, which in most cases would be that there is no country to welcome them, there is no place for them to go, and they don't have any means and resources to go there, then in such a case, this would not apply to them. Why is it that eternal hell is promised for killing a believer but not a disbeliever? Well, killing a disbeliever has been clearly spelled out that you will be deserving eternal hell. As far as killing a non-Muslim is concerned, that has not been spelled out because, of course, in such instances, killing a non-Muslim, if they are at war, that would amount to an entirely different thing. Killing someone when you are at war with people would not be an offense because now you're at war. But if in peaceful circumstances you end up killing a non-Muslim, I think that this is a question which the Quran has left unanswered according to the situation, and it may well be that if the situation is such that the person deserves no lenience, then maybe the same punishment would be given to him. But if there is some lenience, for example, if the person who he has killed, to that person the truth had been revealed in its ultimate form, and that person had intentionally denied the truth, or he had become an enemy of God, then I think that this could be one instance in which any concession could be warranted. But as I said, this has not been explicitly stated by the Quran anywhere. Intentionally killing Muslims is something that has been stated. Otherwise, the only chance that normally arises in killing a non-Muslim would be when a non-Muslim is living as a minority, or non-Muslims are living as minority communities in Muslim lands. So, of course, their worldly punishment, we know that would be the one that has been concluded as a treaty with them. But as far as their punishment in the hereafter is concerned, as I said, there is silence on it. And of course, this is a decision that God will have to take, or is going to take, keeping in with the circumstances.
Thank you very much. Dr. Saleem Akram Bhatti, please go ahead.
Assalamualaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Sir, in ayah number 101, Allah says, when you're traveling, it's permissible for you to shorten the prayer, especially when you fear the attack of disbelievers. So does that mean that these days, when we are traveling and we have no fear of being attacked, we should say the full prayer, complete the prayer, or should we have the option to?
So, I mean, basically, the reduction in the prayer has been mentioned in the Quran regarding jihad, regarding the fact that when you're traveling for the purpose of jihad, this is what the Quran mentions. Now, what has been done here is that the Prophet, by analogy, has taken hold of this verse and extended it to all kinds of traveling, all kinds of journeys. And that is what we call that because of the commonality of illah, the commonality of the reason, he has extended this directive to other forms of travel. Because what exactly is the nature of a travel? It is that discomfort that you have, that lack of safety at times, that I mean, you're not fully comfortable when you're traveling. So this is lack of discomfort that is found in the journey that was undertaken for jihad, for which the Quran has given a clear directive. But the Prophet actually made it analogous to all other journeys wherever there was some discomfort. So now, by analogy, all those travels and journeys in which there is some discomfort, and as long as that discomfort exists, it could be for a couple of days, it could be maybe nothing at all. So basically, these shortening of prayers or qasr prayer has now been made conditional to the fact that you feel that discomfort. So when you feel that discomfort, you can shorten the prayer. And as soon as that feeling of discomfort goes away, then the full prayer has to be offered.
So that means that when if we travel by air and by
Of course.
car and that, so
So if we travel by air or if we travel by car and we don't feel the discomfort of the journey, and we are fairly comfortable, we are fairly easy, there's nothing that is pushing us in any way, mentally also we are calm, then there is no need to shorten the prayer. So you see, this shortening of the prayer basically is dependent on the fact that when you go on a journey, as is the case with jihad, there is a certain amount of uncertainty and discomfort. So the Prophet took this from the Quran, and he has often done this that by actually regarding things to be analogous to other things as well. He has included in this sphere or circle of directives some other directives as well. So basically, praying in qasr or praying while shortening the prayer while traveling is something which the Prophet has deduced by analogy from this directive of reduction of prayer while traveling for jihad.
So it is still allowed but not compulsory that you must shorten the prayer.
It's just allowed. It's like a concession given to you, and that concession has to be benefited from as long as the reason for that concession is there, which is discomfort. If there's discomfort for 10 days, it could be availed. If there's no discomfort for, let's say, even a single day, then it should not be availed.
So that was the question. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Similar to that, someone's asking, what's the correct guidance on fasting during traveling nowadays?
That is the same. The Quran has mentioned that وَإِن كُنْتُمْ عَلَى سَفَرٍ, it's particularly mentioned that if you are sick or traveling, then fasting is something that you have to, if you want, you can avail that concession. But it's not that in per se that you are traveling and you don't avail that concession. For example, if you feel that you can keep a fast, then you can go ahead and keep the fast.
Thank you very much. Shabnam, please go ahead.
थैंक यू मरियम सर मेरा क्वेश्चन इनडायरेक्टली रिलेटेड है आज के लेसन से सर ये क्वेश्चंस हुए मुस्लिम और नॉन मुस्लिम्स को कत्ल करने के रेफरेंस से तो सर इसी के रेफरेंस से एक हदीस पे आजकल थोड़ी सी कंट्रोवर्शन चल रही है कि जिसमें फेमस हदीस है कि प्रॉफिट सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ने फरमाया कि मोमिन वो है जिसके हाथ और जुबान से दूसरे मुसलमान या लोग महफूज रहें सर अब ये कुछ लोग कह रहे हैं कि वो इसमें मुस्लिम का वर्ड है कि सिर्फ मुस्लिम है और कुछ लोग कह रहे हैं कि नहीं अन्नास का वर्ड है कि तमाम लोगों के लिए है तो सर आप काइंडली इस पे थोड़ा गाइड
I think basically whatever the Prophet said, the crux of the spirit or the essence of that is that no person, whether he is a Muslim or non-Muslim or belongs to any faith, should be under threat from the tongue or the action or the deeds of another Muslim. I mean, the other person should feel safe from the tongue and from any action that a Muslim should undertake. So it's not just the Muslim. I mean, because of the fact that the Prophet was speaking to Muslims at that time, so at times the word Muslim has been used. But if you look at the essence is that no one should be harmed by you, whether this harm comes from your tongue or from your hands or from anywhere. Your aggression should not be something that should be faced by other people, regardless of their religion.
राइट सर, बट अभी हम बात कर रहे हैं कि उनके मर्डर पे कुरान खामोश है नॉन मुस्लिम्स के आखिरत में, तो सर फिर वो पीस तो ना हुआ ना कि हम समझ सकते हैं कि शायद इतनी सख्त पनिशमेंट ना हो. अल्लाह को चाहिए था तो जो इनोसेंट नॉन मुस्लिम है उनके लिए. जी सर, आप बताएं सर.
Correct. You're very right here that non-Muslims who are innocent, so that there is something that should have been. I mean, maybe it should have been mentioned here. But I think, as I said, you see, we are talking about a specific situation in a Muslim society where this is happening. So whenever this situation was related to non-Muslims, it was always in the case of war. So that is why it has not found its mention in the Quran, that wherever non-Muslims are discussed, their murder, so to speak, is discussed. It is discussed only in the case when war is being waged against them. The case then when non-Muslims are living as a minority amongst Muslims never arose in the time of the Prophet, or nor in the time of the Quran. So you see, they were not living as a minority. Non-Muslims were at war throughout the Prophet's era. Either they had to accept faith or face destruction. So you see, you have to understand the whole context of the Quran. And that is why the Quran gave that directive that when non-Muslims are there and you're fighting with them, then this is how the whole matter would be resolved. So because of the fact that non-Muslims, when they live as a minority amongst Muslim lands, it took place much later, that we just cannot, I mean, that is why it is not mentioned in the Quran. But it does not mean that if it is not mentioned, then the fate could be something different also. It could very well be that the fate would be same. But as I said, you see, you have to understand that the Quran is basically a book of dialogue. It's a book of conversation. It's a sermon between 7th century characters of Arabia. So it will discuss things which happened in that situation, in that time, amongst people who were living there. The question that we are now facing is what happens when non-Muslims are intentionally killed by a Muslim. So, of course, their worldly punishment is something that can be given. I mean, they could be treated in the same way as Muslims are. But as far as their hereafter punishment is concerned, the Quran could not have commented on that because that situation never arose in the times of the Prophet. In fact, it never arose in the times of the Khulafa Rashidin as well. Because you see, until the Khulafa Rashidin, the whole directive was that the mushrikun, the idolaters, they were to be put to death if they revert back to their religion. And the people of the book, upon them, on whom the Itmam al-Hujjah had taken place, jizya would be imposed on them as a sign of their humiliation. They would be imposed, a jizya would be imposed on them. So, as I said, that this is something that is still a matter of discussion, and I would think that, I mean, although it has not been explicitly mentioned, but this does not mean that a lack of mention necessarily means that they have a lesser value. They are like a protected minority.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. So in relation to that, someone's asking, wouldn't Allah know it would happen and then should have preemptively answered?
That is something that God could have answered this question. See, a lot of things which relate to the hereafter will end up being opened there. So remember, in this, we are more concerned of the safety of the non-Muslims in this world. So they will be given full protection. No one can harm them. But if someone harms them, yes, they might be killed. I mean, a Muslim might be killed in return for that. But what will be the punishment of that Muslim in the hereafter? So that is something, because we are not absolutely given any news. As I said, it doesn't mean that, we should regard them to have a lesser value. So preemptively, at times, it's not the style of the Quran to mention things preemptively. Remember, this is only something which will happen when you think that the Quran is going to give you guidance for all times to come, for everything, come what may, for every era. This is a misconception about the Quran. The Quran is giving you eternal guidance on many issues, but you see, there are still many issues which the Quran is silent upon. For example, the inheritance of an orphan grandchild. I mean, this is a very serious issue which has arisen, and because the Quran is silent, many jurists deprive an orphan grandchild of any inheritance, and others, they say that, well, this is a matter of ijtihad, and in this case, such and such would be its inheritance or his inheritance. So you see, there are issues that are at times mentioned in the Quran, and at times the Quran is silent. But as far as the worldly scenario is concerned, it does not leave out anything. So we are specifically concerned here regarding what will happen to such a Muslim in the hereafter,
Thank you
and
for
that
the
is something
explanation.
on which the Quran is silent.
Thank you. Thank you for the explanation, Dr. Saleem. Shaban Ansari, please go ahead.
ये कसर नमाज के बारे में जैसे है ना कि अगर ट्रैवल करना है तो जैसे ज़ोहर और असर की पता है कि असर रास्ते में होगी तो हम ज़ोहर के साथ असर मिला लेते हैं और उसको मतलब कम भी कर देते हैं नमाज को। लेकिन बाज़ दफ़ा इस तरह होता है कि घर में बहुत सारे काम होते हैं, तो ये होता है कि कभी ये होता है कि ज़ोहर का टाइम आखिर में मैं नमाज पढ़ रही होती हूँ, तो साथ ही असर का टाइम क्योंकि आजकल मौसम दिन छोटे हैं, तो वो शुरू हो जाता है। तो क्या
Correct.
ज़ोहर के फौरन बाद साथ ही उसको मिला के पढ़ लूँ, मतलब कसर नहीं, मतलब पूरी-पूरी पढ़ लूँ उसको
Yes, that
क्योंकि
is
बाद
possible.
में ये है कि
I mean,
रेस्ट
that is
रेस्ट करने
possible.
के लिए हुँ?
I mean, what you're doing is you're offering both prayers on their own times. It's just that they are exactly becoming adjacent. Once the first prayer finishes, the time of the next prayer immediately starts. So you're still praying those two prayers on time. The only thing is that they are being done consecutively.
जी, थैंक
Ammar Rasul, please go ahead.
Ji, Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Sahab. Dr.
Alaikum
Sahab, my question is still related to this line of questioning that you have been facing today. So, Dr. Sahab, I wanted to ask you about this verse specifically that Muslims often quote, when Islam is represented in the West as a violent religion, that, the killing of one person is as if you have killed all of humanity. So, the context of that verse is, sir, is that about killing Muslims only, or is that verse about killing any person, no matter what nation or religion they may belong to? And also, sir,
That
specifically about the verses that were discussed today, we always take pride in that Quran is or Islam is a universal or humanist religion, and it does not differentiate between nations and people. Yet, in these verses, the punishment of non-deliberate accidental murder of somebody from your own nation or somebody from another nation, the the repercussion of that is different. So why does Quran differentiate between?
You see, it is different because the Quran says, "Adu villakum," they are at war with you. They are your enemies. So you see, it's not a simple thing that they are at peace with you or they are your allies. The difference here is that now they are at war with you. And when they are at war with you and when they are attacking you, then and when they have become enemies, then diyat has not been made mandatory. It's only mandatory when they are your allies. So that is the difference. It's not because of any other way. I mean, even amongst Muslims, there could be situations that a person is a Muslim, but that Muslim actually belongs to an enemy country or an enemy itself, and he's part of that. Then, I mean, there has to be a difference in the law. I find it to be very, logical.
The first question was about the famous verse where the Quran says that the killing of one person is equal to the killing of all of
So
humanity.
this is for everyone. This is regardless of faith. And when you kill some innocent person, whether he is a Muslim or a non-Muslim, then you have done a very grave thing, and it shall be punished in the eyes of the law. So as far as this world is concerned, I mean, the Quran has made it unequivocally clear that they will be punished. So remember, we were discussing the fate of a Muslim if he kills a non-Muslim, what will happen to him in the hereafter. So what I said was that it is here that the Quran seems to be silent. It's not silent as far as this world is concerned.
Ammar Rasul, did that answer your question, or do you have a follow-up?
I have a very quick follow-up, sir. In a previous in answer to a previous question, you said that the Quran is quiet about the punishment of killing a non-Muslim in this space or over.
Not in this world, in the next
Because
world.
this situation did not arise yes, in the next world. Sorry, yes, you're right. Because this particular situation, did not arise in the times of the revelation of the Quran. But sir, equally, this situation where a Muslim was killing another Muslim situation arise during the revelation of the Quran, and according to my limited understanding, it did not. But the Quran has laid out a very clear punishment for that.
No, this is not correct. I mean, the Quran has said that if he belongs to an enemy nation with whom there is a pact, then the situation will be different. But if he belongs to an enemy with whom there is no pact, then the situation would be different. So the Quran has actually discussed this worldly punishment in both cases. If you read those verses again, you'll find that as far as killing a Muslim is concerned, without any deliberation, without any intention of doing that. So the Quran has categorized it, that what will happen if that Muslim belongs to a country or a people with whom you are at war, who are your enemies. What will happen then? And what will happen to those in the case in which there is no such thing, and he belongs to he's in a normal situation. You're not at war with that enemy, or he's not an enemy. That enemy does not exist, in fact, and you just end up killing the person unintentionally. For example, by accident, you are going for, let's say, for some hunting, and you're hunting birds maybe, or you're hunting an animal, and you end up accidentally killing a Muslim. That is something that can always happen. So you see, anything that could have been envisaged in that particular scenario was delineated, and that too, if it was not going to take place at that time, even in a later time, was also delineated. The only thing that we find missing here is that what will be the fate of such a Muslim in the hereafter. That is the only place where the Quran is silent.
Thank you very much,
All
Dr.
right, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Related to Amar's question, person's asking, does this apply to revenge killing as well? Because we can take equal revenge.
Well, we cannot take equal revenge by killing someone. In that case, we have to register a case with the state authorities. We don't have the right to take the law in our own hands. Taking revenge actually refers to situations in which you are not doing anything which is immoral. For example, if someone has slapped you, you can maybe slap him back. Things in which you can behave in an equal way. But if someone has taken someone's life, then you cannot take that person's life. You'll have to go to the authorities, register a case with them, and then prove that that person had killed that person, and then the state authorities will implement the punishment. So we have not been given this leverage to implement that punishment ourselves. It has to be from the state.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. Salman Aziz, please go ahead.
So just a comment which Amar have already said, that regarding the killing of non-Muslim, I think the principle has been clearly depicted by the Quran, that killing or saving one person is like killing or saving the whole humanity. The principle
Right.
is quite clear.
The principle is clear regarding this world.
Yeah.
His
The second
question
principle is
related
regarding-
to the hereafter.
Yes, sir. So my question is that during the time of Hajj, people generally give logic about the Qasr and Jama during the Hajj days, basing their logic on these particular ayats, sir. Despite the fact I tried to convince them that it is, as the Hajj is a tamsil of jihad, and even the local Sahaba that came from Makkah also prayed in Qasr and Jama. But people were thinking that the Qasr and Jama during Hajj is because of this, you can say, leniency regarding traveling and putting your prayers in half or Jama, sir.
No, that's not the case.
So how to
Because it
convince
is-
them?
Yeah, you cannot convince them. I mean, all that you can do is just present your opinion and let them do what they like. You see, we should give up this attitude of trying to convince people. We should try to present our viewpoint with reasoning, and then let the other person decide. It's not the right way that we try to make it a case in point and try to convince people in our favor. This can create a little bit of discomfort. So the best way is that you present the opinion with its reasoning, arguments, and proof, and say that this is how I understand it, and this is enough for the other person to make him realize in a subtle way that please do consider the reasoning of what I am doing. Okay, I think I will not move on to the next because it's like a longer passage. Let's devote the remaining time to the questions that we have for now, or even those which are not related.
Okay. Thank you. So this question asks, if someone were not to learn how to read Qur'an, but only learn the Islamic teachings from other people's interpretation, for example, watching your channel, would they be liable to any sins for having no direct connection to the Qur'an?
That cannot be said in any explicit way. If you are, understanding the Quran through a translation or through some scholar or through any means, because you see, the purpose of the Quran is to give you guidance, and that guidance can be gauged and obtained by through such channels like understanding the Quran in the language that you are conversant with. When I say that Arabic is something that every single Muslim should consider very seriously learn, the reason for that is that you see, it's like a bonus. It's like something that you should be really inspired, because the words of God, when they land in your heart, then when they make room in your heart, they have a very special impact. The translated word will, of course, still have an impact. It will still give you some guidance. But imagine if God is speaking to you and you are directly understanding what He is saying to you, then the difference between the first situation and this situation is that the impact of those words on yourself would be so strong and so potent that you would be driven to follow what these words say. It's like being impelled into action. It's like being inspired into following what God is telling you. So there is this gap that does arise, and I think that instead of confining ourselves to a lower grade, because this is not what human beings are in their normal lives. We all want to become high achievers, isn't it? We'd like to become good professionals. We would like to become good parents. I mean, we would like to become the best of the best. Yeah, and we do try to become the best of the best in our remaining spheres of life. So why not in this sphere? That this is like something that you should aspire for. It is like a target that you should try to achieve, because this is something that is going to really win a lot of favor for you before God. It's going to make you a person whom other people can look up to. It can make you a very high achiever as a human being and as a Muslim. So instead of thinking of this as an acceptable thing, I think we should think of this as a opportunity, as a big chance that we can avail to become very close to God by being inspired by His message from His very words.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. Akram Bhatti, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mariam. Assalamu alaikum, sir. Sir, when somebody dies and you go for this condolence, we normally read Surah Fatiha and 3 times Surah Ikhlas. Can we? Is this the only thing we can do? We can, say any other dua.
Actually, reading Surah Fatiha or Surah Ikhlas has absolutely no basis. If you read these surahs, they are just prayers for guidance. Surah Ikhlas is an expression of monotheism. When you go for condolences to meet a person, the best way would be that you pray for the forgiveness of the departed soul. There are so many du'as, there are so many supplications in the Quran, in the Hadith, in which you can pray for the departed soul. So the best way would be to offer your condolences by reciting those du'as or those supplications. Surah Fatiha and Surah Ikhlas, it has no basis at all. These things have become famous and they have absolutely no authenticity.
Yeah, actually, I'm asking this question because my sister expired last week, and yesterday I had people come over to say condolences, and I said the same thing.
Did you say your sister expired?
Yeah, Mr. passed away about a week ago.
Oh,
My
very sorry to hear that. Inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi rajiun. May God raise her ranks in paradise and forgive her.
Jazakallah. So people are over, and I was teaching my grandchildren how to say condolences, prayer for the deceased, and one of the persons said, "No, we are told that we should read Surah Fatiha and Surah Ikhlas 3 times." And I said basically the same thing in my words, what you just said, but
the litmus test is very clear. If you read Surah Fatiha and read the translation of Surah Fatiha, it has nothing to do with anything with the departed soul. It's a guidance for people who are living. Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim.
The
And
question was,
Surah
the
Ikhlas is just
question,
an
yeah,
expression of God's monotheism.
monotheism. The question was raised that, oh, because I said you can read, I said you can read Surah Ayat al-Kursi. That's also a great ayah. And one person said, no, we are told that Surah Ikhlas is equal to one third of the Quran. So when we say three times, we read the whole
Mm,
Quran. Every time it is 10 times.
mm.
So that was a question. So I said, I will
So you
ask my.
see, this is basically an approach that we have been taught from our childhood, in which you are counting your fingers for reward, and that has taken its toll. So instead of delving deep into the meanings of a surah, trying to understand what it stands for, the guidance it gives for, we are more interested in counting its equivalence with the rest of the Quran. And this is an unfortunate approach that has been rampant. It is very common in the whole of the Muslim Ummah, and it is one of the reasons that it has set us afar and apart from the Quran.
Jazakallah, sir. Thank you very much for clarification. Jazakallah.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. The next question is asking, which dua would you suggest for condolences? They would like to change this practice in their family.
Well, there are so many du'as. Allahumma ighfir lana zunubana wa israfana fi amrina rabbana indana samain. I mean, you just Google the word ighfir lana, forgive us, and you'll find a bunch of prayers from the Quran, and many of them from the Hadith as well.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. Calling for more questions, and until we get more, I had a question. So, in terms of like attacking believers, now between Saudi and Yemen, there is this ongoing war, and Saudi's excuse is that it's the Houthis that are at fault. But just because they're Shia doesn't make them non-Muslims, right? So, like, what
Right.
would that count as?
That would be an absolutely unwarranted war. If you're fighting people because of their faith, you think that they have become non-Muslims. It has absolutely no grounds in religion. It is a gross misinterpretation. You
So, as
cannot
long,
fight people. You see,
so
there is
as,
just one ground which is mentioned in the Quran on the basis of which you can fight another country, and that is injustice and persecution suffered by that nation at the hands of its rulers. And that, of course, in modern circumstances, what would it translate to? It, number one, would translate into the fact that, remember, you're not living in those times 14 centuries ago, in which you were not bound in any treaty. Today, almost 190 or maybe 200 nations of the world, they are bound in a no war treaty and are signatories of the United Nations Charter, which would mean that unless you first undo that status, you cannot take any aggression. Secondly, if you have any diplomatic means to create pressure and exert pressure on the nation which is causing this injustice and persecution, that has to be exerted. Thirdly, the rest of the world powers, they have to be they have to be asked and motivated to exert pressure on such people. And if all these measures fail, then you have to realize that if you take up arms and attack that attack that persecuting country, are you in a position to win that war, or is it like a suicide mission? I mean, you don't have enough means and resources to conquer that. So if you think that you have, then after fulfilling all these conditions, that is the only grounds on which you can attack any nation, whether Muslim or non-Muslim. Other than that, on the basis of faith, on the basis of extending your territory, or any other basis, it's simply not warranted by religion in any of these cases.
thank you very much for that explanation, Dr. Saleem. The next question asks, when reading the Bible, how can you differentiate between the truthful and corrupted parts of the text? Is the criteria is as long as it doesn't go against the Qur'an, it is true?
This is because, you see, when you find something which is not against the Quran, now, of course, we would now think that whatever is being presented mostly would be history. Because if it would be something which relates to religion, the Quran would have covered it. After all, what else is it covering? So now we come across details of some maybe historical happening. So in that case, we will be basically historically analyzing that whole event. Maybe a war that had taken place, maybe anything that had taken place which is not covered by the Quran. So it would be basically an event of history. So principles of historical criticism have been enumerated by scholars. They would be applied, and we would try to find out whether the incident that is being reported could be true or not. And yes, there could be a situation in which we are maybe led to believe that we cannot give a value judgment, we cannot give a final judgment. Then yes, we will not give any judgment. So you see, all these things can arise. But remember, in case of religion, wherever there is something which is mentioned as part of religion in the previous scriptures, then you cannot find anything which would not be discussed in the Quran as well. That has to be discussed in the Quran. And you are safe as far as following the Bible is concerned regarding religion, because in that case you are able to compare it with the Quran. It's only in historical sequences and incidents in which at times this does not become possible, and for that we will use this methodology of history.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. Calling for more questions, you may raise your hand or put them in the chat. Until then, I have another question for you. So yesterday you mentioned that if somebody had been sexually abused or harassed, that they should come clean to either their partner or their potential future partner, right? But don't we know that also if somebody had like sex before marriage, for example, if Allah has hidden that, then they should expose themselves. So like, why is it for abuse that they need to come forward, but not for if they had lived like a wrong life?
No, I did not say that you have to come forward. I said if you have been pointedly asked a question that before marriage, were you in any sort of sexual relationship or something like that? I mean, if you asked a question, then you cannot lie. So I was referring to a question in which your potential fiance or spouse might ask that. But in the other case, if such a question is not asked, then I think it's a question of your own strategy. I mean, it could work both ways. And you can always take that risk in which if God has actually not exposed you, you can choose to remain in that situation. But then there's this risk that you should always be ready and prepared to take, that after marriage, if this question is posed by your marriage partner, and then you say that yes, this happened before marriage, and he or she might say that why didn't you disclose it to me? Then you should have a very, an answer that could satisfy your spouse or your marriage partner. And if that is not the case, then of course you should be prepared to face the music, which means that in that case, if the spouse decides that he or she would not like to continue the marriage, well, that is a risk that would be there. So I said that is a question in which you can basically exercise your own judgment. But if you are pointedly asked this question, then what would you do? In that case, I think you should not cover up.
Thank you very much for that explanation. I took it as the situation rather than being truthful, being like your answer. So thank you for that clarification. The next question asks, what is the reward between praying alone and in congregation? And is it true that your salah's rewards get multiplied by 70 if you clean your teeth before praying?
Between what? I couldn't get the last part.
If you clean your teeth before praying.
Clean your teeth before praying?
Yeah, like if you do miswak.
I mean, if you do miswak or you clean your mouth, that is an independent act of virtue. It's not going to in any way affect your prayer. As far as your prayer is concerned, it will be rewarded on the basis of your concentration and attention to the prayer. And yes, what we have been told is that praying in congregation would earn us much more reward. In fact, there are ahadiths of the Prophet which tell us that the extent of reward would be like 28 times or 27 times the reward of an individual prayer. And I think it's understandable also, because when you pray in congregation, you go and make an effort, you stand amongst people, you go to the mosque, for example, and for that, it's just a simple question of going to your room and offering the prayer. Now you're making an extra effort, and plus you are coming in contact with other believers, as a result of which you might know their situation, and if there are people in need, you might go forward and help them. So there's a whole bunch of things that comes as a package when you pray in congregation, and hence we have been told that it is much more rewarding.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. Shabnam, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mariam. Sir, ये मेरा क्वेश्चन इस्तिग़फ़ार के बारे में है. Sir, we have been told कि मरने के बाद हमारी अमल का रजिस्टर बंद हो जाता है फ्यू थिंग्स प्रॉफिट ने एक्सेप्शन बताई जो बेनिफिट करती हैं, सदका जारिया, इल्म या जो दुआ हम करते हैं। तो सर हमें बताया गया कि हम उनके लिए दुआ कर सकते हैं जाने वालों के लिए, और प्रॉफिट से भी जो हदीस में मिलता है कि उन्होंने शुहदा के लिए और मरने वालों के लिए इस्तिग़फ़ार किया। तो सर जो कॉमन इस्तिग़फ़ार के अल्फाज हमें हदीस वगैरह में मिलते हैं सर, वो तो मोस्टली ऐसे हैं कि वी आर आस्किंग फॉरगिवनेस फॉर आवरसेल्व्स, अस्तगफिरुल्लाह अल्लज़ी वगैरह। तो सर फिर हमें कोई ऐसा हमें क्या वर्ड्स खुद चूज करने पड़ेंगे कि जिसमें
No,
हम
you will find these words in the Quran. Rabbana ighfir lana zunubana. And at another place it says, Rabbana ighfirna wal ikhwanina allazina sabaquna bil iman. Forgive us and forgive the people besides us. So if you just Google ighfir lana or ighfir lahum, you'll find that there are du'as which are not merely for your own self. In fact, they are du'as that include yourself for maghfirah and also people who have passed away. For example, the famous, very famous dua that has been taught to us in the case that someone has passed away, Allahumma ighfir li hayyina wa mayyitina wa shahidina wa ghaibina, which means that God forgive our living and the dead and those who are present and those who are gone. So it's like a general blanket of things that has been presented.
Thank you, sir. Jazakallah.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. I have another question for you. So when people say that when people die and they're in their graves now and people are going there to give them their condolences or doing prayers for them, that the person who's dead can hear what's going on around them. It doesn't make sense to me biologically. Could you please explain?
That's not true at all. You see, as soon as a person dies, his soul is claimed by the angels, and after some intermediary steps in which he or she is shown the ultimate place where the resting place would be in the hereafter, they are just put to sleep in the land of Barzakh, and they don't even know what's going on. And in fact, we have been told in the Quran that once they wake up and they'll be given new physical forms, they will say that, well, I just went to sleep. It was just a moment ago that I had gone to sleep. So it would be like a deep slumber. It would be a very long time, but it's like the same thing that when we go to a deep sleep at night and we wake up in the morning, at times we feel that we had just slept, whereas maybe 8 hours would have passed. So in a very similar way, when people will get up on the day of judgment, although they might have slept for thousands of years, but they will feel that they just went to sleep a while ago. So the Quran is explicit in telling us that they become inaccessible biologically. Of course, the body decomposes, it decays in the grave, and the soul is no longer with the body because it is a soul that makes the person hear something. When the soul is not there and you have a lifeless form there, it's incapable of hearing anything. So that doesn't happen. It's more of wishful thinking.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. The next question asks, is it permissible for artists to hint towards underlying sexual themes with symbolism without explicitly showing it in a piece of media, or would that still be considered indecent and vulgar?
Well, in such subtle forms of art, the best judge is one's own conscience. I cannot give a value judgment. I think it's the person himself who knows what nudity is, or maybe vulgarity is, or indecency is. And as I said, this is something regarding which a person should ask his or her own conscience.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. Rafia Khwaja, please go ahead. Rafia.
Dr. Shehzad, people often talk about kabar ka azab. So I have not understood when one does.
I have explained this torment of the
one
grave.
is not going to be questioned in the cover, is it?
True. You see, I have explained this.
It's not true. Sorry.
I have explained this on a number of occasions that there are two categories of people who die. One of those categories is that a person is the addressee of a messenger of God to whom truth has been unveiled and exposed and communicated in its ultimate form. And for them, of course, they will be questioned in the grave, of course, which means that their own souls in the land of Barzakh would be questioned. And the question, of course, would be something which is very telling. It's very logical. The questions, for example, would be that, do you know this person who came into your life, referring to the Prophet? So there's a whole category of people about whom the grave punishment is going to be there. They are these people who would be living in the times of God's messengers, and they would have deliberately denied the truth. For other people who are living in the post-prophetic era, like people like us, for us, there's not going to be any questioning in the grave. So that questioning is reserved for the for people who are the addressees of God's messengers, and we have a clear example of that in the Quran, because the Pharaoh, as we know, would be asked this question, and it is said in the Quran that he is shown his place of hell in the hereafter every day. He is presented before that, and this becomes a torture for him for what he did in denying Moses in his own lifetime and doing other crimes in spite of being convinced against them. So, as far as the addressees of God's messenger are concerned in the prophetic era, because to them their account is settled in this world, so that punishment is going to take place in the land of Barzakh as well. But people who live in the post-prophetic era, people like us, our account, it is yet to be settled. The scale or the mizan, as the Quran says, has to be set up on the day of judgment. People's deeds will be weighed in that scale, and once a decision is taken regarding a person's fate, only then a person can be punished or rewarded. So remember, in the land of Barzakh, in the post-prophetic era, people who are sleeping there, their account has not been settled as yet. But in the prophetic era, every person's account is settled in this world because of their deeds, because of the fact that the truth has been communicated to them in its ultimate form. So the ahadith which speak of this torment of the grave, and one of the verses of the Quran also relates entirely to the people who live in the prophetic era.
So will they be punished when the Qiyamah comes? Again, they'll also be punished
yes,
like Pharaoh?
that is what the Quran says, that they will be having these three forms of punishment. One, in the world. Second, during Barzakh, the life of Barzakh. And third, on the day of judgment. Because their nature of denial is not simple. They saw a messenger of God. They were convinced of the message that that messenger was delivering. They were absolutely sure that he is right. But out of arrogance or jealousy or any other reason, they opted not to accept him. So the Quran says that, the Almighty says that this is such a grave punishment that it warrants a lot of, it warrants the wrath of God, it warrants this grave punishment, it warrants the fact that in this world you will be destroyed, and your punishment and humiliation will continue in the next world as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. Ahmed, please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum, sir. Sir, Surah Fatir mein, ayah number 22, وَمَا يَسْتَوِي الْأَحْيَاءُ وَلَا الْأَمْوَاتُ إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُسْمِعُ مَن يَشَاءُ وَمَا أَنْتَ بِمُسْمِعٍ مَّن فِي الْقُبُورِ. इसको जरा explain करें, because Allah says that He will make it listen to whoever He wants to, but then He says وَمَا أَنْتَ بِمُسْمِعٍ مَّن فِي الْقُبُورِ. So
that is what is being said. You are not going to make those people hear who are in the grave. وَمَا أَنْتَ بِمُسْمَعٍ بِمَنْ فِي الْقُبُورِ. That's exactly what is being said. That there is no.
पहले जो है إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُسْمِعُ مَن يَشَاءُ, वो जिंदा लोगों के लिए إِنَّ اللَّهَ.
It refers to this world. If God wants, He can make anyone hear anyone. But in the case of people who are in the qabr, in the kubur, in the graves, then you are not one who's going to make them listen.
किसके बारे में إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَسْمَعُ مَن يَشَاءُ? जिंदा लोगों.
It's like a general statement. It's like a general statement that God, if God wants, He can do anything. You see, you have to understand that wherever this word man yasha is used, it is just referring to the authority of God. It's referring to the fact that when He decides some matter to have it done, no one can stop Him from doing. If He wants, He can do this, but it does not mean that He is going to do this. It only speaks of His authority.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Our next question asks, is reciprocating a gift of non-Muslim celebrations haram?
Could not get you. Is what? Celebrating?
Is it haram to reciprocate a gift from a non-Muslim celebration?
Certainly not. Why would it be haram? If a non-Muslim has gifted something to you, and you want to reciprocate by giving something else to that person, why would it be?
Their religion, for example, like a shabnam or something like that.
Like a what?
Like shabnam or something.
Shabnam. So what? It is wrong with shabnam.
Sorry, I might be making. Like Hindus, they have shagun. Is it shagun?
Shagun.
Maybe.
I think
Or like
Shagun, I
say
think
somebody
it's-
celebrating Christmas and then they give you something Christmas related.
there's nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
What would be wrong with that? I mean, you see, you have to understand that when things become wrong, when there's something morally wrong in them, when there's something wrong with regards to your faith in them, or some superstition that might be attached to them. When a person is giving you a Christmas gift, what exactly is he doing? I mean, is some belief attached to it? Is it that when you receive that gift, you become a believer that Jesus is the Son of God? Of course, that is not the case. It's a simple question of receiving a gift.
Thank you very much for that explanation, Dr. Saleem. The next question is, are you allowed to keep your eyes closed in sujood?
Well, normally when you're in sujood, your eyes automatically get closed. So it's up to you. There's nothing this is wrong in them. I mean, it's like a natural posture, and at times automatically your eyes get closed because of the fact that, I mean, there's so much darkness, because your eyes are touching, literally they're touching the ground, that you feel more comfortable when they remain shut. But if you think that there is a way to still make them open, that's fine. I mean, there's no rule of thumb or no restriction in either closing them or keeping them open.
Thank you. The next question asks, what are the essentials of an Islamic state, like al-Khilafah?
Well, this is a question that requires a lot of detail. Khilafah, or Islamic political system, is something that we have discussed in our Mizan lecture series. So I would advise the questioner to please look at the political Sharia that we discussed in 3 or 4 sessions of Mizan lecture series.
Thank you. And why is it forbidden to have cremation?
Well, it seems that the sunnah of the prophets of God is that they would like to consign ourselves to the grave, because it's like from dust thou art and to dust thou returnest, as the Bible also says. And also it seems that the Quran wants us to realize that we have come from this mud and clay, and we are going to return to this clay. That is the best that I can say. Obviously, we have not been told the reason, but I think the reason perhaps is that to make us realize that we have born from this earth, we have been created from this earth, referring of course to Adam, and our destination also is back in this earth. To give us this inclination, to give us this idea that we are, I mean, going to be returned to our own origin.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. That was it for all of the questions today. Thank you for your wonderful explanation and another great session. And thanks to all the participants for your questions and participation. Inshallah, we'll see you all again next week. Till then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.